Hey everybody, good afternoon. Yeah, it's good afternoon and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. I am your host, Peter Venkman, and I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And I gotta tell you, that's a true double negative there. And I'm a little surprised they actually let that go into a theme song like that. Huey Lewis would never have let that happen. All right, so if you haven't seen it yet, check out the new trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's surprisingly good. I pretty much Ghostbusters was off my radar. I know that they did the movie, a couple years ago with the all female leads, and I haven't had a chance to see it. I haven't heard, and I haven't had a chance to see it, but I've heard that it hit or miss on that. But this looked surprisingly good, and a lot like season 6 of Stranger Things. So should be interesting. It was more serious than I thought it would be too, which I like. So I'm now looking forward to this movie. But today we're not here to talk about the news, whether the Huey Lewis kind or the comic book film industry type. We are going to spend the next hour talking with a writer named Kevin Joseph. He is the writer of Tart, which you've done as a Kickstarter for a while now, and now it's going through Scout Comics. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. But if you ever want to talk about Paul Rudd, I'm here. I'm not censoring Ant-Man.
All right. Well, hey, we'll have to see how this conversation goes. We got time at the end. We'll go back to Paul. Maybe Kyle can find us a clip of that Mac and Me trailer that he shows on Conan O'Brien all the time. So poor Kyle's in the background going, I got to do what? All right, so let's just roll right with it, and let's talk about Tart. What is Tart, and how is it that you are one of the few writers to actually come on board of someone else's book?
I think that I am extraordinarily lucky to have come into this situation. And I think most writers, given the opportunity I was given, would have said yes. We just aren't given this opportunity very often. A friend of mine introduced me to Ludovic Soleil, who is the artist and co-creator of Tart. And he had this amazing artwork on this crazy, chaotic story about this character, Hell Strawberry, where she bounced around time and just killed demons, and it zipped everywhere. It was kind of, I like to say, a Tank Girl feel, because it was beautifully nuts. And he wrote himself into a corner. And the reason he wrote himself into the corner is because, he's an artist and he wanted to draw 1800s China, and then he wanted to draw, the French Revolution. And so that would be one issue of Hell Strawberry, and it kind of was a chaotic, and he lost his train. And I said, I can't get you out of this corner. I don't understand that. But if you'll let me play around in your toy box, I think we can work together. And that's how we did it. So I do think any writer who saw his artwork would have happily joined his journey.
Now, you said that he had artwork already. So did you craft a story based on existing pages?
No, I was unable to do that. What he had showed me had all this amazing promise, but it was sort of like a sitcom. There were multiple characters that were so ingrained, and not knowing them and not knowing all of the backstory to them, I couldn't figure out how to go with what he had. But I did know, okay, so these are time travelers. Great. They fight demons. Great. Okay, what if the story was a little more of a detective story, where we find out with the lead character what the problem is, as opposed to just arriving at it? And I kind of pitched that idea, which became issue 1, to Ludo. And he said, this doesn't feel like a Hell Strawberry story, which was his character. Let's just start a whole new thing and we can play with whatever elements the two of us decide on. So we've incorporated some of the characters of Hal Strawberry, but it is an entirely different story than what he was telling.
Okay, so the book's called Tart. Is the main character named Tart?
Yes, codename Tart Acid. Yes.
Okay, tell me about her.
Tart Acid is a time-traveling demon hunter who wakes up at the beginning of each adventure without any idea where she is or when in time she is, but she does know there's a demon causing trouble, and it's up to her to find it. That's the convention pitch. That's what I go out and get people. Who she is a young lady who is new to this organization, who protects the time stream, who is doing everything she can to live up to the expectations of the people around her, and succeeding a lot and failing sometimes.
Okay, so it sounds like the premise or the driving thing is a little Quantum Leap-ish, where he would just suddenly wake up in somebody's body and have to figure out what's going on and what he's got to fix.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So what is she like personally?
I think that she is her most defining aspect as a fighter is a survivor. But as a character, I think she is someone who is a little lonely because of the way the job is built, who is looking to bring good into the world.
Okay. All right. And you said that she's got some characters that you brought over from the other book. Mm-hmm. And I assume there's some new characters. Tell me about some of her supporting characters.
She is an agent of a group we call the Toxic Fruit. So she can be sent to 1950s New York to find something. And one of the other agents can be sent to the 1900s Russia to find a werewolf. Some of the people that she works with are Gloom Tangerine, Lemon Lamorgue, Cherry Macabre is their boss. Now, these are all just code names that mean nothing on first glance, but they are the other people who work within the agency, and each one is doing the same thing. Their goal is to protect the history from demonic incursions that throw us into chaos. They're all doing that, but they all have a different mindset. Gloom Tangerine was born in 1902 Russia. She's one of 6 children, 2 that lived past childbirth. When she goes into a situation, she's not quite as worried about, collateral damage to humans as Tart Acid, who grew up in our time period where life is more, noble. We cherish life because we haven't seen death the way people in the past have. Okay. And Gloom kind of, people die. If 3 die while I kill that demon, well, I needed to kill that demon. Whereas Tart would be hurt by that. And each character brings a little bit of the time period that they lived in to how they do the job that we're asked them to do.
Okay. How did Tart end up part of this group?
We have not told the audience in our book, so I think I'm going to keep that quiet just now, but it's coming. I can say nobody comes to this organization without some skeletons in their closet. They are all the souls of murdered teenagers. And basically, our character Death gives them an option. Go to your eternal reward in heaven, or risk your soul to fight the kingdom of hell, which killed you. And some people say yes, and some people say no. And Tart obviously said yes, but we have not explained exactly how her life on Earth ended.
Okay. All right. Now, you've been doing these through Kickstarter, mm-hmm. and you're on book, 12, 13?
13, yeah.
Okay, so you're kickstarting book 13 right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But that's not everything. You've also got this, you're doing this in conjunction with Scout?
Well, how can I say this? Scout allows us to raise funds to make the book on Kickstarter. So
Okay.
my Kickstarter books are not in conjunction with Scout. They bear no responsibility if I screw up and don't deliver the books. Now I'm going to, because this is our 10th campaign and we haven't been late yet. So I'm going to deliver the books. I can't promise I won't be late because life is life, but I'm going to deliver it. But Tart has nothing to do. Scout has nothing to do with Kickstarter.
Okay.
But when we get the existing books in the can and we finish what we called a season with Scout, so that's the first 7 issues of Tart became season 1 at Scout. They then put them out into comic shops, and then you get an entire season. The comic shops get it. When I finish season 2, they're going to have a trade paperback for season 2, and then the issues. And Tart 13 is season 3, issue 1. So we're allowed to use Kickstarter to raise funds to keep creating content so that Scout can go to comic shops and say, we're going to deliver these books because Kevin and Ludo have already finished the 5 they need to finish.
Okay, so the first arc is 7 issues. The second one is 5?
Yes, sir.
And you're starting a new arc, the 3rd book season, and it's going to be 5?
About 5, yes.
Okay.
Some of our issues go, 32 pages, but it might be broken into 20 pages, so I can get a little more content if I can create a nice break point in it. So it'll be about 5. It could be 4. It could be 6, depending on how the stories go. I've written the first 2 of the season, and the last 2 to 3 stories are just outlines right now.
Okay, so if somebody joined your Kickstarter and liked issue 13, the start of a new arc, they could then go and find the trades in comic shops.
They could absolutely do that. There's a tons of way to do it. What I'm doing in this Kickstarter is I have a $25 catch-up tier that's just the first 7 stories, so that you can read that physically and you'll get a digital PDF of all 13 issues.
Okay.
You get the first 7. If you love it, you can go right to your local comic shop and say, I want Tart Soul Searchers, which is 8 and 9 collected. I want Tart Origins, which is 10. And in September coming out is Tart's Devils and Demagogues, which is 11 and 12. And, if you get that catch-up tier, I'm gonna send that on as part of the thank you notice. All right, here's the way you can do it. You can get it really cheap at your local comic shop. You don't have to pay shipping if that's something you don't want to do.
Right.
And it's just going to work out really nicely because once I got with Scout, I actually started lowering how many books I printed from a Kickstarter, because I don't want to be in competition with Scout. I want to synergize it nicely. So people who back the Kickstarters now for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they get a very kind of rare book. Mm-hmm. Whereas before I had Scout, I was printing in the 1,500 to 2,000 range.
All right. So when you do a book through Kickstarter, it's separate from the books that come out from Scout. Mm-hmm. So is it a different cover, or at least different trade dress, stuff like that?
Always going to be a different cover. Always going to be a different cover, and that is part of our contract with Scout. They will not reprint a cover for local comic shops. They've got to give the local comic shops something new and interesting and fun. And so that's part of what we do with them. The interior story is often 99% the same. One thing we did is issue 11 and 12, you've got a cliffhanger between 11 and 12. Well, 2 different comic issues, the pages that we had were perfectly fine. But when we got to the trade paperback and the last page of this comic and the first page of that are facing each other, they were the same image with a slightly different angle. So I got with Ludo and I said, I don't think this works. Let's redraw. And we talked about which page we should redraw, and we kind of wrote it a little differently, just to make the Scout experience work for the Scout book based on how the pages were. So we'll do little tinkering, but it's very similar. I would bet most readers won't notice the difference if it's been a couple months.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, I looked it up on Scout's webpage, and they referred to it as, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, napalm or something like that. This they described it as they put out one book and then
Oh, I gotcha. Nonstop.
nonstop. That's
Yes.
why did I think napalm? Okay, nonstop. So they put out one book and then the full story. How does that work?
That was the way they did the first season of Tart. We were lucky enough to get the okay with them in 2019. And we talked about it with the president, James Hake, and he's like, I've got this idea kind of going with a Netflix binging idea of kind of people want their content now and they don't want to wait for it. But it's hard to come to a comic shop who's never heard of me ever. And that's accurate and say, hi, this guy has a $20 trade paperback. Order it for your people. So the nonstop line is based on you send an issue 1, $4. People get to find out if they like it, and then they can order the full season in the next Diamond distribution. Well, we came out in February of 2020, and we were in the March previews. And as everybody probably knows, the world shut down in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what, if that's the worst thing that happened to me in this entire pandemic, I'm lucky and I will accept it and I appreciate it. And I want that known loud and clear. It did create a huge momentum. We lost any momentum from that issue 1 to the trade paperback that we might have built. And so for season 2, I spoke with Charlie Stickney, one of the co-publishers of Scout. And he said, well, why don't we not do nonstop this time? Why don't we try to put out a couple one-shots that are the issues? And every 3 months we'll have Tart in stores, and then we'll bring the trade paperback, and we'll see if we can build momentum that way. So our season 1 was nonstop, and our season 2 was this weird experiment that Charlie and I came up with that I think works very nicely for our book, and we're going to do that for season 3. But I would do the nonstop again for if I had a 4-issue limited series. I might do the nonstop again because it's issue 1 is out and then boom, you get the whole thing.
Now, what kind of feedback did you get on that? Because if somebody's buying the individual issues, they seem like they'd want the individual issues. If they buy issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where buying issue 1 then buying a trade, where they get issue 1 again. That just
yes they do, but it's priced as if issue 1, the price you paid for issue 1 is out. So in our trade paperback was 160 pages of story for $20, whereas that would be 24 to 30 without it being part of nonstop. So basically, if you liked issue 1 and bought the trade paperback, you got it for free. But you have to do that mental math to get there. We had 2 shops. We had 2 shops that came back saying, "Don't love this, won't be part of it." And I have to respect that because they're on the ground, they're doing their business. I had some shops saying, "This sounds fun, let's try it." And then, of course, you don't hear back from most shops. So I would say the jury is out on shops what they like. I will say, one of the shops that came to me and said, "I will not do this. It makes me angry. You shouldn't do 1 and then do the trade paperback." I wrote back, "Absolutely, that's fine. Can I reach out to you when we just have the trade paperback?" And his answer was, "Well, how would I know that it would sell?" And I decided that shop was just a loss for me because they weren't going to work with a new writer either way. They were going to buy 3 issues of number 1, and they weren't going to order issue 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and 7 anyway. So partially that store, and it's their business. I don't want to complain about it because it's their business and they know it. But that store wasn't going to take a chance on a writer nobody's ever heard of and an artist nobody's ever heard of, no matter how good the story was.
Now, Kyle says some retailers are letting people bring number 1s back for an even bigger discount on the trade because it keeps the momentum going. Now, that's a good idea. I like that. And I like the idea because sometimes people will buy a number 1 issue for the collectability. Because, it is pretty standard, and I wonder if this is why Scout did it. It is pretty standard in comics that you get up to like a 50% drop off between issue 1 and issue 2 because you go from the speculator market to just the people interested. And most of the time when you put out, you solicit issue 1 and issue 2 before issue 1 even comes out. So it's not like you're carrying the story. The story is not carrying you. You're you're asking them to gamble twice, basically.
Exactly.
So I do see an advantage. Yeah.
There is, and Charlie did something else. Charlie and David, the co-publishers. Now I'm not involved with this because my books are coming out slightly differently. I'm just a weirdo that don't ever do what I do, kids. Just do it your way. You'll probably do it better. But I've lucked into a lot of things. What they found during the pandemic is they were selling out of issue 1s, and nobody was ordering enough of 2 and 3. So now they're taking a pause between issue 1 coming out. They're giving shops 2 months to find out if the books are selling, and then they're soliciting for issues 2, 3, 4, and however long. So they're trying to give shops the information now so that there isn't that precipitous drop, or so a shop doesn't take a chance and stick with number 2s that aren't going to sell. It's their way to try to even that out for both the creators and the shop. And I think that's going well. I would have to ask the shops whether it is. But at least you're not asking a shop to order 50 number 1s and 50 number 2s. But you're also allowing the shop to order 30 number 1s and find out that they're going to sell 22 number 2s and order that many.
Interesting. Because, I mean, that's kind of been one of the industry gotchas, is trying to judge issue 2 based off of no sales results, but also getting it out fast enough to keep the momentum. So you are sacrificing some momentum by giving the pause, but you're allowing the retailer to discover what the audience might be. That is a little tricky.
It's tricky, in my opinion, as an independent creator. So I go to a shop for the first time. You've never heard of me. I don't want my books. I don't want 70 of my books sitting on your wall for a year, because then you hate me. Mm-hmm. I would much rather you slow and steady get the books out. And if you order 12 and sell out, well, guess what? You can order 6 more next week. It's fine. But we don't want it to at a point where your issue 2, you're having to go to a second print immediately because nobody knew the series was going to be good. And it's you know, we're all refunding this too, because, you know, last year was insane for everyone, and local comic shops more than most people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the way retailers actually have to put their money up front, they're already invested in the stock, and then the pandemic shut down. They couldn't get people in their stores. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there are still comic shops out there is kind of amazing.
Yeah,
you know,
I was up in Cleveland. I went to Akron and visited my buddy Dan Gorman, and he talked about with his shop, which I would name check, but I can't remember right now, unfortunately. But Dan's a great dude and good artist. He said they went straight to the Facebook Live selling, and he was driving around Akron delivering comics to people for the first 2 months before anyone was allowed to even come to the show for pickup. So what I've seen shops do over this past year has been amazing. I mean, they changed how they did it, and they stayed alive. And I hope they're stronger for it. You know, I know that a lot of bills have built up, but hopefully some of that flexibility is still there, and people are still doing the Facebook Lives, et cetera.
Yeah, I know a buddy of mine who owns a shop in Long Beach, California, Mike Wellman, Atomic Basement Comics. He had just opened up. He was still a new shop. So he switched to, I'll deliver to you. Call me up, tell me the books you want, I'll bring them to your door. Yeah. And he's still doing that. He takes
that's
one
amazing.
Day. Yeah, he takes one day and he hops in he's got a Dodge Charger, and he drives all around wherever people are in Southern California, and he drops the books off. And it's, I'm a little too far away for him to do it, or I'd invite him over and get dinner too. But But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see what the fallout of all this is going to be. So Scout's got some interesting ideas. So
it's a fun group. It's good creators. That what I like about Scout is, I've worked with Source Point Press, and I like this too. It's just a bunch of people trying to tell the best stories they can. Yes, we all want to make some money.
Yeah.
I mean, no one should pretend we don't, but it's getting cool stories out, and it's nice to have Kickstarter and these smaller publications who will take chance on somebody, because I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm still like new, and for anybody to take a shot on me, I appreciate it immensely.
I've been doing this for 25 years, and I still feel new, so I understand. Now, all right, we are coming up to the halfway point. So if Kyle's there, I'm going to go ahead and throw this to a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more about the actual Kickstarter and maybe some of the rewards people can get for different tiers and stuff. So be back in just a moment.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are talking to Kevin Joseph of Tart Comics, oh, there he is. I was like, where's Kevin? So let's talk about the Kickstarter. Now, this is issue 13, you said. This is going to be the start of a new season. I do like it when comics try to plan things out like a TV season. I'm seeing that right now in one of the books I was just looking at this morning, Static. The stuff they're doing with Milestone. This is Static Season 1. Icon comes out tomorrow. Icon and I don't remember the full title of the book, but that also comes out tomorrow as Season 1. Hardware is going to be Season 1. So I like that idea. So we're starting Season 3. Tell me about the Kickstarter. First thing, where can people find it, and what can they get? I mean, how's it going?
It's going really well. We have 10 days left. We just passed $9,000 today. Our goal was $5,500, so we're doing great. Love to get. At this point, would love to make more money, but it's more about finding more readers. We just want to build the readership. So on the Kickstarter, there's a $13 digital tier. So $13, you get all 13 issues emailed to you, as well as the Hell Strawberry trade paperback that Ludo has written in universe. He did this one after we had started working, and it's Hell Strawberry sort of on the side. So you get about 400 pages of PDF for $13. That's at Tart. I've got the link up here.
We've got the Kickstarter in the chat.
Oh, you do it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can hit that link. Basically, in issues 4, 5, and 6, Tart Acid went on a training mission in the world's most haunted waterway. It's called Trunk Lagoon, and you can look this up on the internet. Basically, hundreds of Japanese and American naval officers and soldiers or naval people were killed in a battle around this island, and it is now haunted, if you want to use the word, by something called demon drumming or phantom drumming and ghost lights. And no one knows exactly what these things are. So for issue 4, 5, and 6, we gave our in-universe answer to what is haunting Truck Lagoon. We look forward into our outline of something we wanted to play with. And we knew that Tart Acid was going to visit the lost city of Atlantis. So we decided, what's haunting Truck Lagoon? Mermaids. And they hate Tart Acid. And we decided that because it's time travel, why don't the mermaids know who she is because they've met her, and she doesn't know who they are because of, shenanigans of time travel. She hasn't met them yet. So this is our first time that we've gone back to an issue. And to me, it's just a lot of fun. Ludo actually created a second artistic style for this issue. So on one page of the issue, Tart Acid is narrating, and it's drawn one way. And right next to it is another narrator narrating what happened. And the art style and the lettering style are completely different. So throughout the whole issue, we just play with perspective and how whether you're a hero or the villain is a lot the matter of perspective. And I can't go too much more into that.
Right.
But I'm really proud of it. I just read the entire 32 pages with the letter giving the final go. And I think we did something that I'm very proud of, especially because it was an experiment and we didn't know it could have been a colossal failure. And I don't think it is, but the readers will tell me when the book comes out.
I got to tell you, as you were telling that story, it reminded me of this horrible joke. And because it's my show, I get to tell horrible jokes. But I was in a band about 10 years ago, and it never went anywhere. But my guitarist comes in, he says, "So I got a joke for you." I went, "Go ahead." He says, "All right. So this guy is going on vacation. He goes over to Hawaii. He gets off the plane, and he starts hearing drums. And as he gets to the bottom of the island, they put the stairs, they put a little layover him, and he goes, 'What's with the drums?' And she says, 'Oh, drums very good. Pray drums never stop.'" And the guy's like, okay. So he gets in a taxi and he's driving along and he's still hearing the drums. And he gets to the cab. He goes, "Cabby, what's with these drums?" He goes, "Oh, drums are very good. Pray the drums never stop." He's like, okay. So he gets to the hotel and he's checking in and he can still hear the drums. So he asks the woman at the counter, goes, "Okay, what is with these drums?" And she goes, "Drums are very good. Pray the drums never stop." He's like, No, I get it. The drums are very good. Why do I have to pray they never stop? What happens when the drums stop? And she goes, "Bass solo."
That's definitely an in-band joke.
Yeah, I was the bass player. So.
It reminds me a little bit of one I heard from Dave Grohl. He said, "What's the last thing that the drummer says before he's fired? Hey guys, I just wrote a song."
Nice. Cal says, "I resemble that remark." Okay, let's get a little bit into. You talk about the $13 tier, the digital, and I assume there's physical copy tiers. Is there like a Mac Daddy tier where they just get everything, all the printed copies, stuff like that?
Yes. Now, I'm assuming most of the people viewing are in the United States, but there could be some people outside. Because of weight issues, this is only for people in the United States. You get all 13 issues for $75. And as I said before, issues 8 through 12 and 13 are extremely small print runs in comparison to 1 through 7. So that's why there is an enormous price jump between going from 7 issues to 13. But we started printing in the United States because there's a printer across. I'm in Florida, so I just right over Weston and Fort Myers. I can drive over there and pick the books up 2 weeks after, basically a month after the campaign ends. I can drive over there, grab them, and I can be sending it out instead of printing in Thailand and waiting 3 months to get the books.
Yes.
With that is higher price per book, and we're printing fewer. So as the prices have gone up, unfortunately, we have to charge more, of course. And that's why 7 issues for $25, or if you want all 13, you can get them for $75. Another great thing is, like you said, get issue 13. If you like it, go to your comic shop and say, I heard this guy has a comic and I can get the first 12 chapters, like go to Preview World and look it up. I can get you the codes. So basically we're here any way you want to read our book. I'm good. We're going to be in libraries soon, hopefully within a couple of weeks. If you want to rent it from your library for free, read the book.
All right. Now let's go a little bit more into Kevin Joseph himself.
Oh, no.
So tell me about Miss Hopkins' 4th grade class and your creative writing Fridays.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. This is when I learned how to write, and I learned by blatantly stealing another child's gimmick. So my 4th grade teacher on Fridays used to have us write a short story. It was always a prompt short story. So you'd walk in and she'd have written up, "It's been raining for 4 hours." And you had to write a short story, 2-3 pages, nothing too long. And the first probably 3 months of 4th grade, I didn't finish a single story because I didn't know how to start. Literally, I would just sit at a blank page and I had no clue how to start a story. And I would get F's or D's because what I finally got out was terrible. And then I read one of my friend Ian, whose stories were always read. She'd read 3 to 5 stories of the good ones. His stories always got read. And his story started, "My name is Ian Blank, and I am the world's greatest, I think, private eye or secret agent." And I went, oh my God, that's a great way to start a story. So for the rest of the year, every short story I wrote is, "My name's Kevin Joseph, and I am the world's greatest." Whatever the prompt was led me into it. But once I had started writing that sentence, everything flowed, and I started finishing the stories. I started turning them in, and she started reading them as one of the 3 to 5 best. So if I hadn't completely plagiarized Ian, stolen his idea, I don't even think he liked me after that because it was so blatant that I stole it. I would not be a writer because I would not know how to start a story. So steal, kids, steal away.
Does he get a percentage of your profits? I mean, because it seems like he should have worked a deal.
Let me put it this way. If anything ever happens, maybe I'll get him something special because he probably should. I'm not going to say any percentages because he's smarter than me. He could probably work it out. But I don't know. If we ever make one of those $400 statues, maybe I should just grab one and send it to him and not tell him why.
Now, you mentioned you'd worked with Source Point Press. What did you do with them?
We did a one-shot called Morte. David Bishop and he's the artist. I came up with an idea for a mostly silent comic. Actually, it was silent when I sent David the script. And it was a story that I thought was completely impossible to market. It was a one-shot, which I didn't think any publisher would want. And I didn't know how I was going to sell it. But I loved the story so much. After I wrote it, I reached out to David and asked if he wanted to do it. And the email started, "These are the 8 reasons you should say no to this offer." He read it. He emailed me back a week later and he said, "I can't get this story out of my head. I have to draw it." And I said, "Remember, I don't know if we can get a publisher. I don't know how we're going to market it. This might be for 10 people. And he said, "I don't care. I've got to draw this." So fine. When we had it drawn, we were like, okay, worst case scenario, we Kickstarter it, we see what happens. But a friend of mine was doing a podcast called Comics Pros and Cons. His name's Derek Becker. And he said, this feels like a Source Point book. Would you have any interest in showing it to them? And I said, I would, but it's a one shot. I don't know how interested they'd be. And he talked to Travis McIntyre, and Travis likes to have some one shots going out, because a one shot's great because they're just con like ninjas. They're at every con and they're just selling books. Well, a great way, you get somebody that's going to try Salvagers or Ogre or, Holliston or whatever. You can sweeten that sale by saying, here's a one shot. So Travis read it and said, yeah, if you're interested, we'll take you on. And we were like, heck yeah. And that's why I've always respected Source Point, because they took on a book that the only thing going for that book is the book. It's not David or I's name. It's not anything you can market. It's not a concept that sells, because it's a day in the life of the last man on earth. It has nothing to do with how everyone else died. It has nothing to do with him surviving. It just has to do with how he has mentally chosen to survive this circumstance.
Okay. Sounds interesting to me. I got to tell you, sometimes those are the most interesting stories, when it's just something, just a blip of time or a moment of time in a unique situation. So yeah, that sounds like a good thing to pick up for Source Point. Now, what else have you published outside of Tart and Morte?
Well, I've on my own done 2 other series. They've been, kickstarted or just funded and printed. One is called The Poodles of Potter's Peak, which is for kids aged 2 to 6, maybe 8, if they don't want their characters to punch each other in the face. So that, to me, that's a way to just have something for a little kid at a con. Hey, I got something cute. Mom, this is bright colors, cute dogs, funny story. No violence, and an introduction to comics. And the other one is our Tick Meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle called Underwars, which one of my best friends and I write together, and he draws. And it's just literally, the concept is, if you put men's tidy whities on animals, they develop human consciousness, and some develop severe personality disorders. Go.
How is this discovered in the story?
A radical scientist. Now, a rad scientist, not a mad scientist. We got to remember, mad scientists build exploding nuclear robots to take over the world. A rad scientist builds exploding nuclear robots because they are effing awesome. So okay. a rad scientist grabs a monkey out. He's going to take a parrot's brain out and put the monkey's brain in the parrot and see if the monkey brain will talk. And before he does, he decides to take a cool Christmas picture of a monkey in underwear, and the monkey immediately starts talking. That is the science. Hey, unless you've tried it, you don't know if it'll work.
This is the look that Kyle gets on his face when I say stuff during our show. I'm like, okay.
That was
me. It resonated the brain.
That's me and my buddy just trying to make each other laugh for 24 pages. That's all it is, and it still makes me laugh really hard. I've got a copy, right? I can actually show you real quick if you give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. Kyle says Dan wants to write a follow-up story. I got questions. I'd like to interview the scientist, because that's... Kyle says, I want to do a follow-up story. Yep, that's a monkey in underpants.
And that's our psychotic bunny.
Uh-huh. Is he wearing 2 pairs of underpants?
Well, yeah, we don't know why he put it on his head, but he's a psycho, so that's your warning. If they put it on their head, watch out.
Okay.
When we started that book, Chris is the artist and the co-writer. He wanted to go really hard, inappropriate. And I said, hold on, we don't know if we're doing Adult Swim or after school cartoon. So let's just say silly and let's keep the inappropriate stuff out. So we went to the con floor, and the way Chris draws the bulge almost three-dimensionally, we realized any kid like 12 and under self-selected away from that book. They wanted nothing to do with it. So I was like, Chris, put everything in you ever wanted, because kids don't like it. So let's go to the college kids and people that might really enjoy 420 as a time of day. It's now geared towards them.
Yeah, Kyle wants to know where to buy it.
I might be able to get some up to the store.
There you go. Oh, nice. All right, so I'm going to do the typical interview question, especially you get in job interviews. So, Kevin, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Where are you going? Where do you want to see yourself? Is it more indie book or more self-published books? Not self-published, but creator-owned, or would you like to jump into some of the established franchises and stuff?
I will consider myself a success if we have finished Tart's story and it's out within 5 years. And that will be my success.
Okay.
I would love to do more 3 to 5 issue limited series and just see where they take me. I don't have a specific urge to write for the big two. I wouldn't turn down speaking with editors about ideas, but that's definitely not my focus. My focus is to try to tell my own story with my own characters. Mm-hmm. I've only in my life ever had a story that I think is worth telling for Batman and Daredevil. And the Batman story has been told by somebody a lot better than me. Basically, Grant Morrison's R.I.P. and Battle of the Cow was my Batman story. And he's a pretty decent writer. So I don't think I need to tell mine now.
Yeah, Grant's done a couple books that are pretty good.
Yeah. So I do have a Daredevil, if anybody at Marvel, but I don't have an X-Men story. I don't have a Spider-Man story per se. I love playing in people's sandboxes, so I wouldn't say no to thinking about it, but it's certain I'm not trying to build a career towards that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just had another question, and this is up in you said within 5 years you want to finish Tart's story. How much is left? You're coming up with issue 13, season 3. How many seasons? How many issues? Where are you going with this?
Our outline when we started, because neither Ludo or I knew a thing about comics, was a 42 issue outline for the series. 4 years in, we realized that might be a little big. So I went through the outline and I decided, all right, what story is in here that really tells our big story? And what story is in here because I thought it'd be cool when I outlined this. And we've gotten the outline down to somewhere between 25 and 27 issues. And what that means is we're about halfway through with Tart's story.
Okay. That's reasonable. And there's nothing wrong with your do you know who Jim Butcher is?
Not by name.
Author of the Dresden Files.
Okay, I know the name of the comic, but I haven't read it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, when he sat down to do his first Dresden Files novel, he went in, he took the first chapter, he was doing a writing class, and he did the first chapter, and his writing teacher said, well, that's great, but what's going to happen? What's your story? Show me where this is going. And he went off, and a week later, he came back with an outline for 25 novels.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And she was talking about the full novel, not
right.
25. Well, he just released novel 17 or 18. So he sees the ending coming, or he's got it worked out. So, yeah, I mean, if you can plan out that far in ahead, I think that's awesome.
It's very helpful to me really going into each issue, really knowing where we're trying to go. So I'm trying to shade things and foreshadow in a way that when we get there, it feels surprising and yet totally organic in a way that the audience didn't expect it, because of course. So that's how this outline helped me. Now, I will say, if you are a new writer starting out, I would not recommend anything like this. I would recommend doing a one-shot or a 3-issue limited series. But you can definitely tell the first chapter of your big story in a 3 or 4-issue series, and then you can tell another chapter. So I'm not saying don't do something big. I'm saying release it in bite-sized things so that you can finish it and take a break if you have to.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about laying things out and planning things. How often is it like you'll see, like in a story, there'll be a twist or something. And I know that in my writing, a lot of times it's not that I sat down in the beginning and I said, well, I'll do this here because, at the end of the book, I'm going to do this. It's more likely I'll do something just because I think it's good character or just something interesting and a little more background. And then later on in the book where I'm coming to the end, I suddenly remember, oh, I did that and I could tie that here. And then, of course, when somebody reads it, it looks like it's this well planned out thing, but it's just serendipity that it clicked. How often is that the case for you, or how often, or are you more of the, I am planning it out, all my twists are way planned out?
80% the second one. 80% the second one. We have a page in Tart #1, which is going to come back somewhere around Tart 20. And that page is in there because we numbered the comic book wrong. And we're going to have a double page spread on the left side and then the right. So we needed a page. We needed a page no matter what that page was. So I went through this big outline we had, and I found somewhere where, I can attach it to that years in the future. When we get to it, everyone's going to think Ludo and I are geniuses for planting that seed. We had to, or else we would have looked like the dumbest comic makers in the world. And we found somewhere in the outline where it's going to work. It's. I'm not that smart. We find the things and we try to make ourselves look good later. But no, I'm not that smart.
All right. Now we got a couple minutes left, so let me turn this back around to Tart and for new readers, because that's the big thing. You're here because you want to connect to new readers.
Right.
So take a minute or two and just address new readers why they should pick up Tart, whether it's in their shop from Scout or go out to your Kickstarter and pick up issue 3. What is it about Tart that they're going to love?
Well, I try to make every issue its own complete emotional journey. So if I saw you at a con and you had a Hulk versus Thing t-shirt where they were punching each other, I wouldn't try to grab you. I wouldn't try to say this is your thing. But if you're wearing a Sandman shirt, if you're wearing something in the Whedonverse, I might try to grab you and say, look, if you're looking for a story that's going to be a little different than usual get, with a little humor, a little action, and a lot of emotion, this book was made for you. If you're looking for a punch out every issue, it's not for you, and that's okay. And I love when the Hulk and the Thing punch each other. I'm into it. I didn't write this book for that part of me. So I would say that if you're the person who gravitates to to Image nowadays, or the Karen Berger imprint at DC Vertigo, if you're a Vertigo reader and Image reader, I would say give us a chance, and I think you'll fall in love. And If you really want to see, Captain America hit Taskmaster in the face with the shield, I would say go buy Captain America, because it's awesome to see him get hit in the face with the shield. But there's going to be issues of our book where it's just two people talking for 24 pages. We have one of those in the outline. I don't want you to know, you don't know what you're going to get with each individual issue. And I kind of love that. And I hope, and the readers we found love that, but that's my thing. If you're a reader and you want to go on an emotional journey that you weren't expecting, give Tart a try.
Sounds like a good description for the current Loki series too, especially with episode 1 and episode 6, where people sitting around talking.
Yeah.
So
I will say this: if you enjoy the way the Loki TV series played with time travel, you will enjoy the way we play with time travel. I'm not saying that they have read our book. I'm saying that we came to it with the same thought of, when they showed up, let me just put it this way. They showed up at the volcanic eruption of, was it Pompeo, I believe? That's the type of thing that could easily be in one of our stories. Luckily, it's not in our outline, or I'd have to be changing it now, but it's something that could easily be there.
all right. And speaking of time travel, we are out of time, so I'm going to have to get us out of here so we can get on to our next show. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Check out Tart. You can scroll up in the chat and find the link to the Kickstarter. Also, you can find them through Scout Comics at your local comic shops or through Previews World. Check them out. Stick around for more great shows here on The Experience, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one.